Good morning. It's still Thursday, September 20th. I am getting caught up, doing a lot better than than we had been doing there at the college, and so I'm getting caught up with your class. I want to make sure you have plenty of feedback for the Twiz 1 that's coming up starting on Monday, the 24th. So I want to respond to the Colonial Diaries discussion board, whole group discussion. First of all, I'm sorry to be repetitious, but goodness gracious, people, please don't keep repeating material. Um, read the prompt carefully. The prompt asks you to choose one topic about which the writer was writing and to discuss the impact of that or what you make of that in general. And some of you would preface your discussion with, given extensive background information about the writer from the biographical information that comes at the beginning of the section of the text. And there's no need to do that. Now, if there's a piece of information about that writer that you think is significant and you're going to tie it into some comment that the writer made within the text, then, that would be good. But heavens, the number of people who wrote about Samuel Sewell, and I know there were only four. Now, there were only four. A couple of people chose to write about Edward Taylor, and he, of course, has those poems in that section of that text. But this text, this particular discussion board asks you to talk about colonial diaries and journals. And to me, it's significant to note that those are different forms from what we had been reading. We had been reading sermons, poetry, um, Mary Rowlandson's narrative, and some of those were written well, really thinking about an audience, thinking about someone else reading it. And so it's being written for a purpose to promote perhaps the Puritan idea about the Jeremiad and about to reinforce the message of let's return to God type thing, which was Mary Rowlandson's narrative. Um, Edward Taylor was probably writing more for himself in a way when he was exploring his poetry, but all of that would often make its way into sermons and into public addresses. And even Bradstreet's poetry, while she may have begun writing for herself, once her family members, got a hold of that, they had a mind to publish. And so these diaries and journals are different. Diaries are like a recounting a day-to-day, day in, day out, initial thoughts jotted down. They're not revised, and they could be fragmentary and disjointed. Could write down something Tuesday and not write again for 2 months. And that's a diary, which I'm sure you're all familiar. And then a journal is sometimes a little less fragmentary and more concentrated on like one specific event. Someone had noted, it might have been Erica, I'm sorry, I forget exactly who, but that like Sarah Kimball Knight's journal was kind of like a travel log. Like you could get online and follow somebody's trip that they're taking online today in a very immediate way. Kimball Knight's journal wouldn't have been as immediate, but that's exactly what she was doing, is kind of keeping a record of that trip that she took, and it was a business trip. And so that too was something to note, and actually someone did note that, if I can think who. Shanice did mention in her discussion of Sarah Kimball Knight that how Knight focused on some everyday concerns that any of us might traveling, like the condition of the roads or the quality of the food or how nice a hotel or inn that you're staying in. And so one of the reasons these colonial diaries and journals are important is because they do give us a glimpse of the daily life, just the regular day in, day out, day in the life of a Puritan, because again, we have to be really careful not to stereotype. Like they're these just very religious, somber. I mean, even when you see the pictures in your textbook, that's a formal portrait that was painted. And so, of course, the person is looking very, posing in a very reserved way in the best dress and trying to have that somber, religious, pious, Puritan look or whatever. We don't want to stereotype them. They were real people, and you saw that, and that got noticed by some. How Ryan brought out in his discussion and his response to a discussion about Cotton Mather, how relationships are always a problem, and people experience lust, and um, it really humanized, Cotton Mather really humanized him. Um, Katie was surprised at the woman's reaction the woman whom Mather rejected. Um, she was very vindictive, and she was threatening to, it was a Jerry Springer moment, you know, she was threatening to, talk bad about him and reveal secrets and things like that. And Vanessa also noted